Hello, everyone. This is the weekly Hello, everyone. This is the weekly geoscheduling call. So 1 hour of issue discussions coming up. Yeah, I think you shared your screen, Douglas. Is that right?
I did.
Mike.
Ah, Mike. Well, like whoever wants to start.
Douglas, feel free if you'd like to. Okay, so since we usually start going from right to left, here we are in the closed issues. So the first one is Zach's. Would you like to speak on that?
Sorry. Yeah, so this got merged in. This one had been kind of going around for a little bit, but yeah, so now we can consolidated all the like out of date errors into one unified place at the top, and it's on that last photo that if you scroll down, it's a little.
Oh, there it is.
So now it'll look like that. And yeah.
Cool.
And so I guess
Very
that'll
nice.
go in on if you're upgrading your Geo instance, you won't see that until 13.0. I think we missed the 12.10.
Yeah, but that's fine. I pinged you already. I wrote the release post items today for 13.0, and I included this already in our sort of Geo UI UX improvements list, which is really nice.
Perfect.
Okay, and next up.
In a similar fashion, we also added a call out to selective sync in the header of the node card now, so you can see that in the proposed design. We also consolidated this actually is kind of important. We consolidated the term groups on the front end. So namespaces can include groups or user groups, I guess, or user-based repos, but we don't support that right now. So we kind of just, for user kind of not confusing our users, everything referring to namespaces will say groups in the UI, just to be clear there. And we have an issue out there to open that back up to actually including all namespace values, but as of right now, it's just this.
That's great. I really like this, by the way. I always felt that it was really hard to know what was selectively synced, and I feel now it's very explicit as to what is actually like happening, and I think that's quite nice. Is this like, there's also, you can do this by storage shard. Is that still in there?
Yep. Yeah. So shards will do the same thing, and it will.
Okay.
Shards
it would
are a
just
little
say shards.
Yeah. So shards are a little weird, just because I'm not really sure how to create shards. So the only one that I had was just the default shard. So I'm not sure what goes into naming a shard or how big a shard's name might get. So that might be worth a kind of a regression test.
Okay.
But this is a side note.
Yeah, I don't remember how many we have for like GitLab.com, but it's generally not going to be like as many as there might be groups selectively synced. So yeah, should be okay.
It's Douglas, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the Gitterly storage shards, right? And that should be 22 or something.
On staging or production?
Yeah. Production.
I don't remember the exact number, but yeah, something like
around
20 or 25. Yeah, around that. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so so I know about this one. Gabriel got this merged, which mostly we needed to fix something with how replication was working. There was like one tiny little bug, plus he made some improvements like little refactors, as well as adding code comments. Yeah, so this was a nice improvement to our self-service framework stuff.
By the way, I got really good feedback as well on the presentation during our workshop overall. So thanks, Mike, again for running through all of the bits and pieces. It was, I think, well received.
Awesome. That's good to hear. Okay, yeah, so this one is more, this is in the verification part of the framework. And yeah, it's just steady progress happening on that front. Yeah, so there's more to do. We didn't have it planned to finish in 13.0, but yeah, not too much to say about that. So those are the closed issues. There's nothing waiting for verification. There's one
quick question.
Oh,
Sorry
yeah.
to interrupt. Yeah, do we ever retroactively weight issues? Like, I'm wondering, like, for I think everything in the closed column has a weight except for that top one, which maybe like came up. Or I think there was maybe like a UX weight on it and then it got removed, but I mean, it's already done, so maybe it's not worth waiting. But if we, I don't know if we plan to like use weights for like showing progress on epics in the roadmap or something. I wonder if that's something we want to look at as part of going through the closed items.
I don't think it's wrong to add a weight, but we also don't modify the weights that turned out to be wrong. So I don't know necessarily. It depends on what we want it for, I guess.
Yeah.
I think I would say that in general, everything should have a weight before it like enters the board. I think what happened here is, I think the UX department has their own way of doing weights now, which overloads the weight description. I think we've used weights as the implementation cost, right? Like as in, how long will it take to actually implement whatever is asked in this issue? And I think Xinjun has to kind of weight things for her like UX stuff. So I'm happy to add things retroactively. Just put something on it. I think maybe more interesting is to assess if our weights were actually correct, right? As because otherwise.
Yeah, that's good to know. So maybe it's not going to be a frequent occurrence that we end up with stuff in the closed column without weights, and we can ask to retroactively apply. Yeah, as far as whether we want to go through and like correct weights or not, I agree that would be a useful thing to know, but maybe maybe a bit. It also feels like could be a bit much to add to the process right now. So yeah, I was just curious, and we can continue that discussion later on. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a good idea to, I don't know, assess how good we were at estimating. So there's one issue in review for the framework for verification. On the secondary side. So actually, I don't know where this is at the moment. I haven't been following it. Looks like it's waiting for review. Yeah.
I think Gabriel was on vacation yesterday as well. So yeah.
Okie dokie. Blocked this one. That's the same one that was blocked before. Waiting for the GraphQL stuff.
And the merging of the, I added the other issue, so it's also blocked by the merging of the pages that I'm working on.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, so we're gonna get into like this piece. It's at least blocked on this piece also, so that's why that's there. document. Oh yeah, this is just waiting for framework replication.
And, to be example setting, I will apply the weight of 1, which I think is the slowest, like the lowest weight that we have for this, just so that we track it. Yeah.
Move this to the blocked column because the dual application decision is broken right now. So we need to wait then to fix it first.
Okay, so this is mostly just we need to do the testing.
Yeah, to test and remove the feature flags.
Okay, I see. Cool. Okay, so moving on to in-dev. This is more verification work for the framework. And
it has nobody assigned
it's
to it.
nobody has a assignee.
Who
Is
moved
blocked
it?
by
Yes.
this. Sorry?
Who moved it to in-dev?
Oh yeah, sorry about that. It was in blocked and it didn't look blocked anymore, and Valerie said that it was no longer. So maybe we can move it back to ready for development if it doesn't have an assignee. I didn't notice that. I thought I assumed he was assigned already, but maybe not. So sorry about that.
Okay. No problem. I was hoping that the invisible geo hand would just get this done for us, but
yeah, okay. So let's move this back.
we should maybe also confirm that this is actually unblocked now. I think like he said it in the comment, right? So we can just ping him and say, hey, Valeri, based on your last comment, this should be unblocked.
Yeah, I did. I had a one-on-one with him a little bit before this, and that's why I moved it out, was because he confirmed that it was unblocked.
Even better.
Nice.
We may still want to make a note of it in there, just like, hey, Larry said this is unblocked now.
Yeah, good idea.
Very off topic, but I had an idea for a geo-social game, which essentially involves us trying to, write comments on an issue to mimic the style of somebody else, and then people guessing who you are actually imitating. And I wonder if we would be able to actually pull that off, as to who writes like what, because we read so much stuff from each other. I think that would be quite entertaining. But just moving on.
I'd be a little worried about seeing what people think is my style of writing.
Same here.
I have a feeling mine would just involve a lot of waffling. So.
Douglas.
This one is mine. I started work on this yesterday. I already open a working progress MR with my proposal. I just need to make the beauty green, and I think Valerie and Mike to hear her thoughts about this proposal.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
And if I understand, like if I recall correctly, as part of this epic, this has to happen for the other data, or I should say resources as well. But like once you've done it for LFS files, right, the others are probably a lot less difficult because it is similar.
Yeah, that's true. On my proposal in the MR that I opened yesterday, basically I'm implementing the idea for all the 3 data types for LFS objects, uploads, and job artifacts. So it would be much easier to remove the that wrapper for these for them.
Oh,
Cool.
nice.
That's exciting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, and I need to summarize the proposal later today and get everyone to hear your thoughts.
Well, that sounds very very cool. I'm looking forward to seeing that move along.
Yeah, same here. Is Jenny here? I don't think so,
I
right?
don't think so. Is she? No.
Yeah, so there were some minor issues that were kind of blocking it being a simple matter of running QA against staging. So I believe Jenny is still working on at least like the SSH keys. Like there's like too many SSH keys on staging for the staging user, the QA user.
I think we should.
Do you think we should ping anything here?
No, I think the only thing that comes to mind is that I don't know how functional Geo on staging is at this moment, given all of the Geo Postgres or the Postgres upgrade shenanigans, and that may impact her work, but I don't know. So if she's not aware, then it maybe is worth pointing out.
Is it blocked? Okay. Backfill for replication for the framework. Yeah, we had some back and forth discussion about this, and it seems like this is probably in development at the moment, but if it is, it would have just started.
Yeah, is it fair to say, because I have to admit the details elude me here, that this is like there's a lot of sort of conceptual, okay, this is maybe what we want to do, which is hard to get sort of right, versus the actual implementation, which is maybe a little bit easier once you know how to actually do it. So that's how I interpreted this discussion.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So as far as I know, I think we are in agreement about conceptually how it should be done now. Yeah.
Sounds great.
This is mine. It just got maintainer review, and I need to address the feedback. Oh, wait, is this the one? Yeah. This is not the MR. So I need to address the feedback and send it back. There wasn't any really huge feedback, so it should be merged relatively soon.
Awesome. So is this actually in review?
Yeah. Oh, it is. Yeah.
Super.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, this is also mine, and yeah, this is a tricky one. It took longer than I was expecting. Okay, there is one MR open that will set the default values for these columns, but there are some discussions between me, Stan, and Camille about the proper way to do this. And I think that we finally getting to an agreement, the best way that you should handle this. And I hope that you can start having this MR merged soon.
Yeah, this is really cool, Douglas. I said it earlier. I'm reading the discussions between Camille, you, and Stan, and I have to admit that I am thoroughly lost on some of the technical details, but it's really interesting to see sort of how this developed and how it was broken down. So it's actually very exciting.
Unfortunately, the code related file uploads in our code base is very complex. It's not easy task to handle this.
Yeah. Okay, next one is Zach's.
Yep. So I have 3 of the 5 MRs out there right now, and so we're 2 of them are in review, and then we're getting close to being able to actually merge the views. And then once we get that, then I'll be able to add the screenshot for you, Fabian, on your release post, and this should be good to go. I'm hoping to have everything open by the end of this week, but I think everything's on track to make 13.0 for sure.
Cool. So is this also in review overall, or are there still things that are?
No, this is still kind of being worked.
Okay, cool. No, exciting. I'm really excited about this change. I think especially with the self-service framework getting like essentially implemented, we'll hopefully accelerate adding more data types. And then the old sort of UI pattern of adding additional things in the sidebar would not have scaled at all. And I'm really actually very happy. I think this is much better. So.
Mm-hmm.
Hello.
Hello.
There's so I have the first part of this in a merge request out for review right now, adding the API and updating the API so that it works with disabled nodes, and that just got through security review. Just waiting for a backend reviewer to look through it, and I'm working on getting an instance set up in GCP so that I can actually test out the rake task and make sure that I didn't totally screw this up, which maybe I did screw up the rest of it. We'll find out. So that's the next step there. There are a bunch of merge requests linked to it because I made like a bunch of stuff and then like was like, no, that's not right. So sorry about the like mess of merge requests in there.
Oh, that's iteration right there.
Indeed.
So is this the one you're talking about?
Yep.
Cool. All right.
So from my understanding, because I wrote the release post today for this, we may have to actually rephrase the issue because like I think here this is about the command line tool, the rake task, but I think what you've done actually is you're working on the rake task, right? But you're also adding the API that allows us to invoke those rake tasks from a primary via the UI, right? So if somebody...
No, it's the secondary. So the secondary has to ask the primary to pause the other replication efforts, right?
So if I go to the secondary web interface, I can click the pause button and
no, you have to run the rake task. So the rake task runs and calls the API. Yep. No button yet. Sorry.
Okay, no, that's not a problem at all, because then I just have misunderstood and I need to change what I've written, and that's totally fine.
Oh, sorry.
No, no need to apologize.
Oh, sorry, I could have responded to your comment there too. I just hadn't gotten there yet.
It's all good. That's why we have these discussions. Cool.
Yeah, I think that's what we originally planned anyways, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
No,
so it's not
there is
a
no
problem.
problem. I just thought,
Yeah.
it had like evolved into something else and it hasn't. And that's totally cool. I just need to then adjust my language, which is also not a problem.
Yeah.
There was a brief period where I thought maybe I'd be able to hook up the button, and there's actually a closed merge request for that in there. So
That might be why.
I understand your confusion.
No. Yeah, I mean, we can maybe do that in another iteration, but I like the idea of shipping it as is, and I think that's nice.
Yeah. Sorry, I haven't been following this merge request. Is it reviewed by someone on the Geo team yet? Just curious.
No. Do you want me to have someone on the Geo team review it first? I'm sorry.
It doesn't have to be first. No. Just at some point, I think it would be a good idea.
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah. If anyone wants to review it, please feel free. I'm not sure how to ping that. Should I just post it in the channel and ask for a reviewer there?
Oh, yeah. So oftentimes we're kind of doing like, I guess, I don't know if we've discussed it for a while, but there's a thing going on right now where the process might be changing to like domain experts review first, do the first review, and then you send it to whichever maintainer. And the Geo team has been kind of doing that for a long time already. So we may not have discussed that. Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, I didn't know that, but I'll find someone to assign it to.
No, I'm sorry that we didn't talk about that. Yeah, that's usually how we do it, but it's not like a hard and fast rule.
All right.
Yeah. Cool. Okay.
Yeah, it's an adjustment that I've also been getting used to, because I think with ecosystem, like we had no maintainers and everybody was new, so everybody frequently used the roulette recommendations. And where I've noticed with Geo, it's kind of, I think people are more comfortable just assigning it to people in the team, and because there are already a couple maintainers, it's the roulette recommendations are generally not followed as closely from what I've seen.
Yeah, the configure team, we pretty much always used the roulette recommendations for both, so.
That's good. Yeah, and there's benefits both ways, I think. Yeah, as far as the process, like usually we'll do it. The first reviewer is the domain expert, and then if you want to, you can also use a Geo maintainer, because we have a couple. But feel free to just assign directly, like you can roll a dice if you want, or you can choose somebody however you feel like, and you can ping directly and say, can you please review it? Are you muted? Alex?
Yep, sorry, will do. It's because I opened the Zoom chat and I clicked the space bar and I was like, why isn't it unmuting me? It's because it was typing space into the chat.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I'm sorry we didn't talk about that earlier.
All right.
Shall we? Yeah.
Give me a second. Nice. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, I think everything is as it should. Okay, so I think there is not that much to talk about in terms of the ready for development column. I think the general like layout here is that we are still working on the remaining issues for closing out the self-service package file replication. So I think this is, that remains important. There's quite a few items that are still open. Many of them are small, but I think we should focus on that, just because it would be really great to get this iteration out, right? Get the front end in place, all of those things, and ship the replication in 13.0. So like this epic here, I think has pretty high priority for this release overall. So, like these are essentially, I think, the remaining issues in the ready for development item column are to do with this. We also have a similar situation for the package file verification, right? This is sort of the parallel effort. I personally like doubt that we will go through all of those in this 13.0. So we maybe should have a quick discussion on how far we think we get, because my observation, right, I may be wrong, some of those things I think are a little bit tricky, right? And before they make it, it takes a little while. So we may need to adjust a little bit, but this should also happen, right? So I have a few sort of items here in the ready for development. So that's not news. I have one minor concern, which has to do with the hashed storage checks. So as far as I know, we know what we need to do in order to remove the admin ability not to use hashed storage and to move, some functionalities here. The small concern is that this, as far as I understand, needs to land in 13.0 because of the major release, deprecation shenanigans. So if these are small tasks that can be picked up, I think it would be good to maybe pick them up relatively soon, because then if we discover something unforeseen, right, then we can counteract and do something and communicate. I think what I would like to avoid is a situation where, for whatever reason, like relatively close to the release deadline, we find some things, then it becomes hectic. I would like to, avoid that.
Yeah, I think I talked to Gabriel this morning, and he is planning to take those on this week. So I can just ping him in the issue and ask him to assign and move to in-deb if he feels confident about that. But I know that is on that work is on his radar.
Cool. Yeah, and again, it's not like an on fire item. It's just if we do it now, I think we'll probably have way less stress later on this month.
Yeah, definitely agreed.
Cool. Yeah, and then the other bits in here that we didn't talk about are the single source of truths for projects and the continuation work in the scalability. Oops, not new window, sorry. The improvements here that Douglas is focusing on. So I think that's also right. I would love to get those items closed out. Again, there are quite a few small things here, right? So we may not be able to close all of it, but that's fine. But getting through this is really important. And so for some additional context, I just came off the product meeting, and we have this product priority list, essentially, the things that we should consider. And people are, I think, starting to appreciate that performance improvements are quite important. And even though there's a discussion on, what exactly should be the order of things and priorities, I think the takeaway here is that, and I raised that point as well, for our users, performance is the main driver of the user experience. If things are slow, right, they are often not particularly happy about it. So even though this is technical work that is very back-end heavy, improving the performance of Geo is really important, right? And it's really important for our users and for what they're trying to accomplish. So also from a product perspective, I think there is more and more appreciation that things being slow, whatever that means, actually have a really detrimental effect on our users. And I think there was a survey as well for GitLab.com users, which is obviously like a bias sample, but the main detractor, so something that people were unhappy with, is actually performance, right? That's one of the things that people really notice, right? And we should pay attention to it. And I think we're pretty good about it. So for some sort of additional product context. And nobody likes foreign data wrapper, so getting rid of it seems to be also a good thing. Yeah, and then there are two, I think, UI items for like front-end things for Zach. And as far as I know, they're relatively small, but kind of nice. One is just the empty state illustrations, which are kind of cute and awesome. And the other one, I think, is about the width of our settings page, which I never noticed, but apparently the width of our settings is quite small. And I think Sunjung had a moment of spring cleaning and was just like, it needs to change. So small things. And I think there are a few other things in the pipeline with regards to labeling settings better and removing some elements from the UI that are coming up. I think that's it. So I'm quite happy with what's in here. There is again, like this is just something to highlight. We also have, I think, a ready item to be picked up for the maintenance mode. So read-only mode that is kind of defined, and we had a POC and is ready to go. And I think a question that we need to ask ourselves maybe is like how fast or who, in terms of capacity, has actually time to look at that, because it is completely different from the things that we're doing right now. Right? It's a feature. It is important for failovers, but we've kind of, like, we're currently focusing on finishing out these larger epics, right? And it would be interesting to just think about, like, when will we get to this, right? Because I would like to get to it, because I think the value for our customers is pretty high, but I haven't scheduled it just yet. But that's maybe something to sort of keep an eye on. I think it's a very interesting thing to look at, and maybe we have an opportunity to do it, but it is probably also, my gut feeling, a little bit more complex than we think. Maybe I'm wrong. That's mostly what I have. Are people generally happy with this prioritization?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Cool. Yeah,
Makes sense.
and I think for like Akriti, I'm not quite sure, but I think you have some onboarding relevant items and issues that you may be able to work on. And when I know what that is, I can put them on the board here as well, but I'm not quite sure if that has been settled yet.
I think there's one issue. It's not assigned to me, and it doesn't say Geo in the beginning, so I don't see her. But once things assigned to me, I can let you know. Cool.
So like this is maybe an intricacy. All the items that are actively worked on and are on our build board need this GeoActive scoped label. The reason for this is that unless you do this and you filter just by, for example, group geo, it will have like thousands of closed items here and thousands of open items in here. And that feels
makes sense.
Annoying. And so that's sort of a very, like a hacky way of keeping the board clean. Cool. That's pretty much the scheduling call. Is there any other concerns or questions that people have?
I guess I just want to like call out that with the MVC of merging pages, that might kind of take up the rest of the week. So I might not get into any of the front end things in the prioritized lane unless there's like a urgency on any of them.
No, I don't think so. I think the main thing for 13.0 will be the merging of the subpages. So I think that's perfectly acceptable. We also still have quite a bit of time in the release, and the way I see this is that the main, or like for me, the merging of the subpages has the biggest customer impact. I think that'll make a huge difference, and then yeah, the other things are obviously very nice, but I think they are very iterative and small, right? And I'm now in the habit, especially for the UI in the release post, to kind of say, this is the main thing, that we've delivered this release, but here are another like 4 or 5 small like bits that we actually delivered as well that make your life better. And so I think that's totally fine. We can adjust that pretty quickly.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Thanks
we
for
should be
highlighting.
able to get most of those in for 13.0. I just think like this week is probably going to be heavily taken by that.
I mean, maybe as a general comment, and then Nick and I spoke about that as well. So there are a couple of things that we would like to maybe, like, it's not necessarily an improvement, but maybe a change. So the one is, at least the German saying is like to like touch my own nose as to like talk about what I can do better first. Is I'm trying to write all of our release post items essentially as soon as I possibly can, and if they are more or less complete, I can also get them reviewed, by tech writers and marketing folks, so that closer to the release, like the merge deadline, this is not something that causes any stress for anyone, because then, like, I hope that an effect that has is that, if for whatever reason, something is taking longer, then we can catch that a little bit before the deadline. We just move the release post item. That's it, right? There'll be another release, and I think that'll help a little bit. I think the other thing is that we're doing these calls every week because we want to continuously deliver value, right? And I think we haven't really, I don't know, like had a better conclusion, but at least speaking for myself, and like reading some of the most recent feedback on sort of maintainer bits and like pressure to review things quickly, I would like us to avoid sort of a rushed last week, right, before the release. I think that would, like, I don't know, I don't like that. I think it's not a great pattern, and if people have ideas on how we can overall be a little bit more like steady, I'll be open for that.
Well, I'll just say something about that. So the GitLab general process is supposed to be you deliver 70% or whatever of the things that you plan to deliver. So it's kind of like built in to how we do things, that it's going to be like, oh, actually we can't, deliver 30% of these things, right? So the main thing is like staying in constant communication more and more, especially leading up to a week or two before the deadline, so that we actually know like what's definitely going to go in and what's like maybe looking like it's going to be that 30%. I don't know. It's not a awesome suggestion. I don't know. That's a thought.
Yeah,
I think
that's a good point, that we always try to be ambitious in our planning. I think part of that is on Fabian and me to make the space for people to feel comfortable, maybe delaying, maybe setting the expectation that something might not make it ahead of time, and not create the environment where it feels like there's pressure to promise that something's going to make it, and then create stress in trying to deliver it by that cutoff. So certainly something we want to watch out for, and communicate that it's okay to just say like, yeah, this doesn't look likely to make it a few days out.
Yeah, and at least in my view, like honestly, like very few things like that were good have, in my experience, come out of things that were rushed out of the door. Right? Like most of the time, what that does is it essentially kicks the can down the road until people try to use it, and then it's broken, right? And also similarly, in my experience, many of our customers are very perceptive to us explaining why certain things are not happening, right? It's like, because they have no, they have risk in their business, right? If they do things that don't work, right? Especially in our area. So it may be a little bit different, right? And there may be situations, right? And exceptions when certain things need to happen at a certain time, right? And that's always a possibility, but I think the standard should be different, right? And I think that that's something that we can achieve by being open and trying to work more continuously, at least in my view. And the other thing is, and that's a longer discussion, that like I personally feel quite strongly that the product development cycle should be almost entirely decoupled from the release cycle, because they're different things. And I think we still have quite a bit of coupling in GitLab. We as a Geo team already have a lot less because we do this every week. And I think that's actually a good thing. And we should release as frequent as is required for our customers. But I think maybe you pointed out the other day, Mike, is like you also release when it's ready, right? And I think I very much care about that. And the other note, and this is an idea that Nick brought up, and I think we work with these epics, right? We can actually, we close a lot of issues, right? And we work our way through these epics, right? And that is more relevant, I think, for our release, for our development progress in a way, right? We look at this and say like, hey, how much have we moved this forward, right? And that is important. And when that will be released, right, is kind of a separate concern, in my view. Cool. Well, thanks for the call. We're, I think, are pretty much on time this time around. Welcome again, Akriti, to the team.
Yeah, welcome.
Thanks for joining.
Welcome.
I'm excited. I'm really excited about many of the things that we're working on. I think they're really going to push the needle forward for Geo and our customers. And I will quickly stop the recording.